Hey guys, what's going on? It's goddamn August, can you believe it? Summer's almost gone. But as you guys know, back in the day, around these times, blockbuster films were always released, especially action films. This week, we'll be reviewing RoboCop Arcade. So without further ado, let's roll out a track screen.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. RoboCop.
Holy crap, RoboCop Arcade! Released by Data East in 1988. Now that is goddamn amazing. So, let's talk about the history of this game, yeah? So RoboCop Arcade was released in 1988 by Data East. The license at the time was actually held by Ocean Software, the UK-based company. Naturally, Data East wanted to use the RoboCop license, so they ended up going to Ocean Software to get that license from them. The license was loaned out to them, and RoboCop Arcade was made in 1988. There's really not much information out on this game. There really isn't a lot. This game was ported to a lot of different consoles at the time. It was ported to Game Boy, believe it or not. It was ported to NES. And that's pretty much it for the main ones that everyone remembers for this game. But there are other ports to this game for the 8-bit computers at the time, which were extremely popular in the UK and Europe. So think the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum. Extremely popular. The ZX Spectrum is actually held in higher regard to the arcade game, and that's mainly because it's actually a lot closer to the source material itself. And that's pretty goddamn amazing. And they actually got to use digitized voices in that version as well, which is a little unheard of at the time. Bear in mind though, those ports were actually released in 1989. Really not much else out on this game. So without further ado, let's actually talk about the graphics and sound in this game. So, the graphics in this game. The sprite work is absolutely amazing. RoboCop looks and moves every bit as stiff as he does in the films and how you would think he would feel. Absolutely great. The locations themselves are pretty great as well. The only exception being the OCP Corp. When you're inside that building, it's a little drab, but it's literally an office building, so I can definitely understand why that is. Why it's so goddamn drab. Looks absolutely great. The colors in this game look absolutely amazing as well. Data East always has really good palette work for the games. Always have great palette work. So Karnov, Dragon Ninja, I should say Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, Heavy Barrel, palette work is always amazing for them. And this game is definitely no slouch in that either. So, the enemies are also not that badly animated. They're pretty well animated for what they are, literally just minor enemies. The bosses themselves are really huge. They're really huge. And the reason they're so huge is because you actually face off against ED-209 quite a few times in this game. Yeah, you literally fight ED-209 multiple times in this game. Did I mention there's actually a level as well where you fight him, or her, or it. You fight two of them at the same time, and Holy cow, that is not an easy task. Be prepared to lose a ton of quarters, cause you're gonna be losing quite a few of them here. So yeah, guys, sprite work is pretty great. Animation is pretty solid for what you'd expect. It's stiff, and as weird as he looks because he's a goddamn robot. But yeah, it looks absolutely great. So, let's actually talk about the sound and music in this game. How does this game sound? What's the music like? So, you do hear hints of the RoboCop theme in this game. Literally the first level theme song, which we'll play right now, does have hints of the RoboCop theme from the film itself. The score is pretty great in this game. The music is actually really, really good if you can hear it, because it is muffled a bit with the gunfire and gunshots from RoboCop himself. You know, Officer Murphy. Yeah, so the sounds of this game are really great. Firing the gun feels absolutely great. Punching enemies feels great as well. The sound that your fist makes on people sounds really good. It's very satisfying to hit. Shooting people is alright, honestly. Honestly, it's alright. I mean, this game is technically a run and gun / beat 'em up, but it's more like a run and beat 'em up, I guess you should say, because enemies are constantly coming at you. So think like the Taito arcade game Ninja Warriors. It's very, very reminiscent of that game as well. But yeah, game itself is absolutely great. It looks and sounds great. Music is pretty spot on. The graphics are pretty spot on as well. RoboCop really does look like RoboCop. He looks extremely well, especially that ending screen in this game. It's so good. So, next up, let's actually talk about gameplay. So, gameplay. How does this game play? What are the buttons? What are the controls in this game? Let's talk about it. So this game, you have 2 buttons and a joystick. The stick obviously moves around. It actually allows you to aim as well. Aim his gun, RoboCop's arm gun all over the place. So you can shoot diagonally as well. But yeah, RoboCop can actually crouch and shoot as well. He can also crouch and punch. So you can punch people in the dick and shoot them in the dick, just like in the film. Well, I mean, he didn't actually punch anyone in the dick, but I mean, he should have, he could have. Why not, right? It's all that matters to him. He's a robot. But yeah, guys, the game feels amazing. It feels really great to punch people. The sound effect for that punch landing is pretty great. It's really satisfying. Shooting the gun as well. The sound effects for the gun are alright. Shooting people from afar is definitely pretty cool. The running gun sections are a lot of fun as well. You have a ton of enemies coming right at you in many, many different areas. Literally, they come down on you as well. They come from all sides, they come from behind you, they come from in front of you. Sometimes the enemies will shoot as well. And while technically you can't shoot through ceilings, the enemies can shoot through ceilings sometimes, and that does lead to a lot of frustration in this game. A lot of frustration, especially when you're on an elevator trying to get up to the second floor of a stage, and enemies goddamn bombard you with shots, and you take a shit ton of damage, because believe it or not, you don't have an invincibility window in this game. So damage piles on like crazy. And that leads to a lot of frustrating deaths on elevators. And that's not cool. But I definitely do understand why this design choice was done. The game itself is actually not that hard. It's a fairly simple game to play and beat. The game is fairly simple to play, fairly easy to beat, with the exception of the stage bosses, which oh man, ED is absolutely insane sometimes. ED literally has shots that can drain half of your life. That's not rad. But yeah, gameplay's pretty fun. The game is pretty hard once you get the final bosses. There are a lot of questionable design choices in this game, but as I mentioned, this is an arcade game, so I can definitely understand why those design choices are there. They're literally meant to drain you of your quarters the same way this game drained RoboCop's life. So it's very understandable why that's there. So this game overall ranges in the more, I should say, like medium difficulty. It's not that easy once you get past the shoot 'em up stages, unless you get to the final stage, the final 2 stages, or you get to a stage that has elevators. Then yeah, there's kind of a difficulty spike at times when you get to those parts. Other than that though, this game is absolutely great, and honestly, you'll more than likely be playing this on an emulator anyway, so it's not like difficulty really matters to begin with, unless you're playing the NES ports. NES port and Game Boy port, which I haven't played yet, so I can't really comment on. But maybe I'll talk about that one day. But yeah, it's pretty great. One button jumps, one button shoots. You're able to aim your shots as well. The game does actually give you different weapons as well, so special shots, I should say, technically, with the exception of a rifle that RoboCop does pick up, so he does get a special weapon. The rifle allows you to pierce right through walls. You're able to hit multiple enemies as well at the same time. Rifle is literally the most powerful weapon in the game. It takes down ED so quick. I literally save at least one shot for that piece of crap. Because he's not taking me out. I'm taking him out. Pretty fun game. RoboCop does have the ability to jump. You're able to jump and shoot as well. The jumping in this game does feel a little bit floaty. He kind of floats when he jumps, when he's going down from his jump. And it feels a little odd, but that design choice definitely does help to get in shots on ED. It really does help. Just to aim instead of having to walk and shoot at him at an angle, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that when he starts lobbing bombs at you and firing his charge shot. Because then you're in for a really bad time with this guy, because he will wreck you. But yeah, guys, that's the gameplay of this game. So, what are my thoughts on this game? Get this game? Should you pick it up? Honestly, this game really wasn't released at all on anything new, any new consoles at all, mainly because this is a licensed game. So the license is more than likely expired. More than likely Ocean Software doesn't have the license anymore. It's probably owned by someone else. So what are you gonna do? Luckily for you, dear viewer, this game is readily available to pick up on NES and Game Boy for an absolutely cheap price. I would imagine the 8-bit computer ports as well are even cheaper in price to pick up, just because there were copious amounts of them released. I definitely say pick it up. The arcade board is honestly not that difficult to find as well. If you have the means to get that in your possession, I definitely say pick it up. You're really not in for a bad time. Really not in for a bad time when you play the game. It's a very fun game. Yeah, guys, I definitely say pick it up. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Jimmy. Stay absolutely radical, and thanks for tuning in.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
Thank you for your cooperation. Murphy.